Okay, welcome to Alexei Sayle's lockdown bike ride, and it's actually thanks to the first lockdown that I started cycling again. I hadn't done it for 5 years because I in 2015 I had a kind of autoimmune. My brain kind of exploded and I lost my balance, and so I stopped cycling. And although my balance came back, I just never got into cycling. Partly I felt like I was getting to places too quick and I wasn't appreciating. And also it was that, town was just crazy with traffic and other cyclists. It used to be when you were a cyclist. I remember doing Simon Mayo's show on Radio 1, and I went on my bike and in making this huge thing about how I'd come to Radio 1. This is the first time anybody had been interviewed on Radio 1 and come there on a bike. And then there was just, it reflects very badly on me that I felt like I wasn't special anymore as a cyclist, because you used to be, it's like you're an amazing person just because you rode a bike. Anyway, so I stopped for 5 years, but then the roads were so quiet during the first lockdown, and I just kind of got back on the bike, and it was amazing. It felt slightly odd for a few minutes, and then after that it was just like normal, really. And I've really enjoyed cycling now. It's obviously the traffic has been lighter, although when lockdown was lifted it got worse again, but it was just the most ecstatic experience, cycling during the first lockdown. And so I really like it now, and of course it's practical. So we're going up quite a steep hill here. So there's an amazing thing, I think, when you get further up this street. I think it's this Marjorie Street. You can actually hear a river running under the street. I assume it's a tributary of the Fleet River. And this is the Lloyd Baker estate. That's very nice. So we're just cycling. We're just cycling from my house to. We're going to go to the canal, have a quick scoot along the canal, and then come back. One of the things I think the closest thing to flying is, I was thinking, cycling drunk. It is an amazing experience, I think. I mean, not blind drunk, but just slightly tipsy. I think it is. It's a delightful experience. So we've cycled away from my house now, and we're just on the borders of Islington. There's a Virgin gym here on the left, which is closed at the moment. For a bit, when we were in our mid-50s, I think, me and Linda used to go to this gym. And one of the things that struck me about it, we were by far and away the oldest people in the gym. And I kind of thought, in a way, what is the point of young people going to the gym? Because they're fit anyway, they're supple. It's actually old people like me that need to go to the gym. When I thought of that, I think it felt like it'd be more of an insight, but it's not really. This is Duncan Terrace, or Drunken Terrace, as often referred to. There used to be a poet and his wife used to live over there. I remember he had a Rolls Royce that quietly rusted. I had an embarrassing incident. She'd written a song once, and I wanted to use it, but I said, we'll change this and change that. And she'd half kick off, because poets are very precious about words, apparently. The thing about comedy is that the words are only the start, and you have your stuff, your work is ripped up, changed, mutilated. But poets, don't try and change their stuff. Alright, we're going to go on the canal here. That house straight ahead is where Boris Johnson lived with his wife Marina, and often my friend lived just over there, and she was often woken by people yelling outside Boris's house. I don't know where he is now, somewhere or other.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now it's also obviously the bicycle, the canal is shared between bicycles and cycles, but I'm very aware of that a bicycle on a narrow towpath is quite intimidating, and you see people who belt along, and I think it's kind of rude in a way to. I'm very polite and slow down, and it's kind of rude to hurtle along the canal. Now, here we are, the Regent's Canal, and you think for years how neglected the canal was, but now when you come here in normal times, I like to think of this as like the beach for people who live in Islington and Hackney and stuff, because it's got water, and in good times it's lined with cafes. So it's good that the canal has been rediscovered by slightly unnerving, these low bridges. Not feeling very particularly confident today. So no, actually, I think if we can get. Oh, this is a place. This is a cafe called Canal Number 5, and my friend Lisa, for years, she didn't get the joke. I hope you do. We went there. We went there we had a coffee and a snack a while ago, and she ordered the. She just ordered the open Swedish sandwich. When they brought it, it was a single tentacle on a plate. Obviously not the Swedish open sandwich. So we sent it back. But they weren't very gracious about it. I suppose if you're open during lockdown or semi-lockdown, I don't know how standards of whether staff have got more polite, or you're so desperate now because you become used. A night out for me now is sitting outside the pub at 5 p.m. for a couple of hours, freezing, drinking beer. So standards are so much lower that they can get away with giving you a single tentacle on a plate. It's usually a Spanish woman shouting on her phone. In a way, if we do this again, when places are open, then it will be more to talk about. This will be less boring. You see that cabin cruiser there? For years I couldn't go on the canal because when I was about 12, my father had an operation that went wrong, and we got £1,000. That's a very Islington conversation. She was in Fleabag. We got £1,000 compensation, and my parents, communist Jews, or half Jewish communists, for some reason they bought a cabin cruiser on the canal, and now communist Jews and cabin cruisers do not go together. One of the things was, because we didn't have a car, we couldn't drive in our family. We had this massive outboard motor, and where the boat was tied up, it was insecure. So we used to take this giant outboard engine with us home every weekend on the bus. And also, my mother was a hysterical woman, shall we say. So I can actually remember one weekend jumping overboard because she was screaming so much. So for years I was traumatized about canals and canal boats, but I'm over it now. I suppose it's a bit like this is Timothy West and Bruce Scales, and they go out the country on canal boats. This is the same, except I'm on a bike. About 10-15 years ago, a friend of mine, the actor Tim McInerney, had his 40th birthday party on a canal boat, and it was. Then I think the canal was a lot rougher. They had a couple of security guards who walked along the towpath. It felt a bit like being in Apocalypse Now. Nevertheless, it was a good party. Now, in this first ride, I'm not going to go much further, but we're actually heading for Kingsland Basin, and there's a magical spot here. My friend Oscar says that everybody who walks the same, but everybody who runs, they all run in a different fashion, often looking quite ridiculous. And of course it's sometimes the streets during this period since coronavirus, the streets have seemed to be nothing apart from cyclists and joggers. Weird. Now in normal times, all along here is lined with restaurants, and it's amazing to sit by the water and have a coffee and a cake. At the moment, of course, it's all shuttered. There's a place there doing Venezuelan arepas, for instance. What a world we live in, eh? That you can get Venezuelan arepas by the side of the canal under normal circumstances. Right, now we're nearly at our destination, and we're just coming up to Kingsland Basin, and it's really one of the most amazing hidden gems, I think, that I know of. A friend of mine actually he just sold it, but until very recently, he lived on a boat in this basin, and I'd come down and see him, and we'd have a coffee at this place. Thank you. So, we come up here. I know that dog. I forget his name. It begins with an M though. He's a friend of mine. So I used to meet my friend John here, right at the top left-hand corner. There's this extraordinary Japanese cafe run by this elegant guy, and it's really Japanese. I mean, like they sell, like fermented soya bean, and I came here with Linda, my wife, recently, and she ordered a cheesecake, and it was black. But under normal circumstances, anyway, there's tables here, and you can have a coffee and a rice ball. Oh, there's a heron. And I just think it's the most, the fact that you can do this in London now. Sit this magical spot and have authentic food from downtown Nagasaki. What a world. Bye bye.